When we tested the facelifted Subaru Forester Sport with the normal non-hybrid engine on our highway fuel economy test, we actually beat the EPA's fuel economy result and got 34 miles per gallon. Now Subaru has electrified their 2.5-liter Boxer in the Forester, and it promises 6 miles per gallon better in mixed driving, and, at least according to the EPA's test, 3 miles per gallon better on the highway. But in our testing, we cruise at high speed, at steady state, and hybrids don't really have much of an advantage. So, what does the hybrid version of the Forester get you here in the real world compared to its non-hybrid counterpart? Tonight we find out. Hey everybody, it's Charlie from Daily Motor, and today we've got the real-world highway fuel economy test on the 2025 Subaru Forester Hybrid. In this test, I'm going to head out on the highway and do 50 miles out and 50 miles back, averaging 70 miles per hour, to get a realistic fuel economy number for this compact crossover. Before we get started, let's hop out and take a look at it. This looks almost exactly the same as the last one we tested. It simply says hybrid on it, and this one comes with my brother Nathan in the passenger seat. However, Nathan won't be joining us for the fuel economy test. That would skew the results, but he and I will be taking this on a 600-mile road trip from Orange County, California to Las Vegas, Nevada to see what it's like spending real quality time in the Forester with the new hybrid powertrain. So if you do want to see that, check the link below for our full review. But today is all about the fuel economy, and specifically the fuel economy at highway speeds. And arguably, I could have just gotten the fuel economy from our road trip that we're going to be taking with this, because it will be primarily highway. But since we tested such a similar version of this car just a few months ago in non-hybrid form, I wanted to run it on the identical Daily Motor fuel economy test so we could compare apples to apples. So why do we do this test? Well, the EPA's highway fuel economy test, which gave this version of the Forester 35 MPG, that test only averages 48 miles per hour. We know there are plenty of people who do longer highway stints at steady, higher speeds and would like to know what sort of numbers you can realistically expect here in the real world. That EPA test has a lot of stopping and starting, or at least maybe not fully stopping, but slowing down and speeding up, so the hybrid powertrain is going to help out a little bit more there. But when you're just cruising steady state, theoretically, it's not doing that much work. So in order to test that out, we're going to head out on the highway here at night when there's not much traffic. We're going to go out, fill up the car, go out and do 100 miles, come back, fill up at the same pump using the same 3-click fueling method, and get a result. Now, a few things to note for tonight. Outside temperature will be in the high 50s Fahrenheit. We're going to set our tire pressures to their door placard. Let me just stop and take a quick look and see what those are. We're looking at 33 PSI front and 32 PSI rear. Kind of strange. And we're going to run the climate control at 73 degrees auto. So, without any further ado, let's head to the pump. We are all fueled up, put in 1.443 gallons for our first fill. Before we start the motor, we're going to reset to the trip computer, reset our GPS, the climate control set at 73 degrees auto. Interesting that there isn't an auto right here, but actually, if I remember correctly, you can customize these buttons. Auto. And let's also bring up our fuel economy screen here. Oh man, Lexus, you're really taking this right now? Okay. That's reset, I believe. Yep, average A. We're ready to begin. And we do have a few different drive modes here in the Forester. We've got S and I on the steering wheel. That changes the shift positioning just ever so slightly. And then in the center right here, we have a few different off-road modes, but we're just going to be keeping that in normal, doing this part in I. And we're going to take it nice and easy over to the highway. It's about half a mile away, and pick up the test from there. Now, the goal of this test isn't a hypermile. We're not trying to get the best possible fuel economy from the car, but rather a realistic figure. So in order to do that, we're getting up to highway speed here at a reasonable pace. We're going to set our cruise control at a GPS-indicated 71 miles per hour. And that should allow us to average 70 over the whole test. Nice and smooth getting up to highway speeds. It seems a little bit louder in here than I would want. But then again, this is a sport model, and maybe the touring, a little bit of extra sound deadening. Let's also get this top closed. Yeah, there's just a little A little cavernous sounding from the back cargo area there. Looks like the car's speedometer is about 1 mile per hour high, so 72 on the dash is going to give us 71. Let's settle in here, and if I remember correctly, the active lane keeping in the Forester is actually pretty decent. Let's see if I continue to feel that way at the end of the test. Quick side note, C5 Corvette with the pop-up headlights open. Love seeing that. Yeah, very cool. That's a Z too, isn't it? Chillin' C5. Alright. Kind of strange to just have your Instagram handle in such a nondescript car like that, but maybe it's a sleeper. Maybe he's got it built up. I don't know. Who am I to judge? I'm driving around with a GoPro on my forehead. So we're going to continue on with the test, catch up with you at the end, do some testing of the Harman Kardon sound system here with the members-only tracks. In the meantime, enjoy this time-lapse of the entire trip. Coming into the end of the highway fuel economy test here in the Subaru Forester Hybrid. Those looking to get better MPGs on the highway are not going to find it here, at least according to the vehicle's readout. 33.6 on the dash. Right in line with what we got with the non-hybrid. No change there. We'll see if that lines up once we get back to the pump and fill it up. But I'm not too surprised given this similar hardware. Now, despite it being a little bit louder in here than I would like, other than that, it's a comfortable place to be. I do have a qualm though. This is a perfect opportunity to show it. This is with the active lane keeping on, and my hand is firmly on the steering wheel. Now, if I'm just driving along, like I would without active lane keeping, just my truck or something, we're tracking nice and straight. There's no need for a lot of steering input here, so my hand's kind of just chilling on the wheel. I'm looking out the front, driving along, And then after a moment right here, it says keep hands on steering wheel. And that's a very subtle, you saw how quickly that was? That went from the little tiny screen to the bigger one where it beeps and then turns my music down. If I'm just paying attention looking out the road, I barely even noticed that little small screen pop up there. And my hand was on the steering wheel. So it's not one of those haptic ones where or the capacitive, whatever it's called, where you just squeeze the steering wheel and it senses your fingers being on there. No, you have to provide torque on the wheel, and there's a lot of times you don't need to be providing that much torque. So I actually ended up having to turn it off because it kept interrupting my sound test. Other than that, adaptive cruise control is a little conservative, but it works well. Active lane keeping is confident throughout corners, at least. You can see it right here. Taking this nice and even balance through the middle there. No tack shot to show here because we just have a power and charge meter even when we're over in M mode, so nothing to see there. I think it's about time we get this to the pump, fill it up, and catch up with you in the morning with our final crunched numbers. We are back and all fueled up here in the Forester Hybrid, and we ended up putting in a total of 2.898 gallons back into the tank. And I went back and checked the Forester Hybrid, or the normal non-hybrid Forester test that we shot earlier, I think it was the end of last year, and we put in 2.960 gallons, so a little bit more fuel, and so it does look like the hybrid's getting you just that little bit extra difference, but it's not going to be that significant. So 2.898, let's bring up our calculator. 100.3 miles traveled divided by 2.898 is giving us 34.6 miles per gallon. So a little bit higher than the trip readout. And you know what? I'll give the hybrid the benefit of the doubt. I'll let it mathematically round up to 35 miles per gallon here in the Subaru Forester Hybrid Sport at 70 miles per hour on the highway. So maybe not that fantastic compared to the non-hybrid car, but it is squeezing out just a little tiny bit better efficiency. And of course, when you're doing slower speeds, you're going to see more of a fuel economy advantage, especially with stop and go compared to the gas car. We still get that 16.6 gallon fuel tank in here though, so I'm really glad that Subaru has kept the full-size tank, because if you take that 16.6 times 35 miles per gallon, you're getting a hefty 580 miles of range. But I'm actually going to do 34 for the range, because you obviously, since we rounded up, you're not going to probably get that 580. So let's do 34 times 16.6. Let's say 560 miles is a safer range estimate here for the Subaru Forester Hybrid. I'm pretty happy with that. I mean, it's again, it's not this amazing number that people might be expecting to see with getting the hybrid, and I do think you're probably going to see better numbers from the RAV4 hybrid, especially the non-Woodland edition. Probably similar. You know, actually, what did we get for the CRV when we tested it? I feel like it was probably pretty similar. Yeah, we got 35 in the CRV as well, so if you consider that this is much more off-road capable than the Honda CRV, oh, that was a pretty good figure. I will say the Honda is more refined from the powertrain perspective, so you got to kind of take, what do you want? You want a little bit more off-road capability, a little less refinement? Go with the Subaru. If you want a little bit more on-road refinement and engine refinement, go with the Honda. So thank you all so much for watching. If you do want to see more on the Forester or the Forester Hybrid, check the link below, and we'll see you on the next one. I'm Charlie from Daily Motor, and as always, drive on.